What can the average American do in response to Roe v. Wade being overturned? The day Iceland's women went on strike. Adding this as a top-level comment as well. Call your representatives. All these posts saying, vote. Yes. You need to vote, but your representatives need to hear from you now and often about what is important to you. Tell them what you want and why you are voting. That is what Remain Engaged looks like. This is how the gun legislation just got passed. There was a huge coordinated push of people contacting their representatives. Even Republicans were getting constituent calls at a ratio of 10-1 in favor of reasonable measures. So they felt confident in voting for a bill with the support of their voters. Join the #SaveAll6 movement and add the state and local office phone numbers for your 3 federal reps to your phone. Make it a habit to call. I think we should be saving all 10. Don't forget your state reps, who are often more impactful than your federal reps. 1. Call your state representatives. You should have 1 state Congress member, assembly member, and 1 state senator. Call and let them know this issue is important to you. SC basically said leave it up to the states. So what do you want your state to do? Ask for abortion rights to be codified into law. Ask for an amendment to the state constitution to protect a woman's right to choose. Ask for an equal rights amendment. Note. Likely the legislative session for your state is over for the season. This is okay, they still need to hear from you now. If a huge wave of people call, maybe we have success calling for an emergency session. More importantly, don't forget to call in the next legislative session to follow up. Point 2. Call your federal representatives. You have 2 U.S. senators and a U.S. Congress member. Let them know that a woman's right to choose is important and you expect them to, depending on your views, either fight tooth and nail against any restrictions on a federal level and leave it to the states, or push to codify abortion rights into law at the federal level. Ask them to ratify the Equal Rights Amendment. Only semi-related to abortion rights. But it would be a great start if we considered women as people, with the same protections under the law as men. Tips and scripts for contacting your representatives. Only contact your representative. Call the D.C. Capitol office first. And if you can't get a hold of anyone, try for your local office. 1 issue per contact. Call about abortion rights or equal rights amendments. But not put both in the same call or email. Calling is better than emailing. But anything is better than nothing. Voicemails are okay. But reaching out until you speak to a person is best. Be respectful and clear in what you want. Scripts should go something like this. I am making this up very generically. So feel free to drop a good script that is specific to your state, or that you think is better than mine if you have one. Hi. My name is name. And I am a constituent of representative, living in city, zip code. I am calling in the wake of the Supreme Court decision to ask for immediate action to protect women in your state. A woman's right to choose is fundamental and currently at risk. I would like representative to work immediately towards thing you want, passing abortion rights legislation, passing an amendment in the state constitution that would protect a woman's right to choose. This issue is urgent and extremely important to me, and I will be following the progress and donating and voting accordingly in elections. If you know of a specific initiative already in the works, it is great to include that information. I am calling to ask that representative supports Bill HR number. Yes, call if your representative is already in support, agreement with you. This is what people mean by stay engaged. They need to know that this is part of why you are voting for them. And they are on the right track. Edit. Yes, also call if your representative always disagrees with you and is at lost cause. This is how change happens. You need to use your voice. The Instagram account, Emily in your phone, is a great resource that provides specific action items, tips, do's and don'ts for contacting reps, scripts, and updates on current, pending legislation. Tends to lean liberal, so be aware of that bias, but the contacting your representative information is politics neutral and helpful for all. Edit. I am also using a lot of knowledge and language from an Instagram account, Sharon Sayso, who provide incredible information on how our government works. The SC said it's up to us, so let's fucking go, folks. P.S. Also, please run for office. Edit. A lot of you have concerns about being from a state that is very red, and you feel your Republican senators are not worth the energy. Do not believe the lie that nothing you do or say matters. Many of the biggest changes in American history have been made by ordinary people. The civil rights movement was launched by teachers, students, construction workers, etc. Change happens because you work for it. We genuinely just passed a peace bipartisan of gun control legislation in the Senate, with 15 Republican senators, including ones from Texas, Missouri, Louisiana, South Carolina and more. A few months ago, everyone would have said was impossible. This happened because people called and used their voice to their representatives. Make a phone call. You cannot do nothing and expect things to change. The 18 to 24 adult voting group votes way less than any other age group. It would make a solid difference if that wasn't the case. Help young women and young men obtain birth control. Pass out condoms. Be willing to buy Plan B. Educate. 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 Don't shame. Meet people where they are. If you're in Michigan, or other states where pro-choice folks are fighting to get it on the ballot, figure out where they're collecting signatures for the petition to get it on the ballot in November. Sign. And volunteer to help find more people to sign the petition. Here's a link. If the link isn't allowed, I'll edit and just say what to Google. This is a little bit of a long one, but the story is important. In 2011 in Virginia, Republicans swept statewide elections. They had the governor, lieutenant governor, both houses of the legislature, and they had appointed the majority of justices on the state Supreme Court. They immediately began trying to ban abortion. House Bill 1 was a fetal personhood bill, and there were about a dozen more ugly ones too. These bills were expected to sail through with no real hurdles. A grassroots movement sprung up. A core group of people who had met and networked during the Occupy protests began planning protest actions. They were able to attract support from people who were not your typical protest crowds. And throughout the actions, a lot of suburban, older women drove into Richmond to participate. Over several protests, about 24 people were arrested and later acquitted. Protests were confronted by riot police as well as little green men hiding in the bushes with assault rifles. However, the protests largely remained peaceful. The state Democratic Party and organizations like Planned Parenthood and NARAL were literally calling the organizers and begging them to stop antagonizing the Republicans. But the organizers remained steadfast in the end. We won. Most of the bad bills were defeated, and Republicans proceeded to lose every statewide election for the next 10 years. They ultimately lost both houses of the legislature as well, for the first time since the 90s. Bob Marshall, who authored HB 1, was defeated by Virginia's first openly transgender legislator, Danica Rome. So ultimately, here is what I would say to remember. The protests are important. What's more important is the networks that form at them. When you attend, try to meet people. Have potlucks. Get to know each other. You will come to rely on each other more than you think. Voting is important too. But only showing up to vote every 2 or 4 years and posting angry memes in between is not going to save us. Our institutions have repeatedly failed us despite more people voting in every election. We will be the ones to save ourselves. Just over half of reproductive age women have heard of a medication abortion. Abortion pills. Abortion pills is the common name for using 2 different medicines to end a pregnancy. Mifepristone and misoprostol. This past December, the FDA removed the restriction that had prevented these pills from being mailed to patients. Plan C provides up-to-date information on how people in the U.S. are accessing at-home abortion pill options online. Though doing so does involve some legal risk, Aid Access strives to improve the health status and human rights of women who do not have the possibility of accessing local abortion services. Vote in your local elections and force abortion rights to be election issues. RVW says that abortion rights is now up to the state government. So vote accordingly and let them know how they can get your votes.